brothers, sisters, cousins, lovers, friends, ops. Gosh, just human pods of Earth. I bid you a wonderful day. I hope this finds you so, so well. I I'm recovering. I've been going through some things, just life be life, and the human experience. It is lovely and amazing, and I'm here, man. I come from the 1900s, so bear with me. I I struggle because I don't create content because I'm trying to like blow up and I'm trying to be like a big influencer. In fact, to be completely honest with you, I abhor just the gurus, the self help people. Like, I could pull your tarot cards, I could do your astrology charts. I'm a third generation spiritualist. So I actually have been studying the tarot and astrology since I was like 9, and I'm 41 now, so that's a long time. And it's interesting. Like, I'm an Aquarius sun. I was always that very strange little kid. And it's beautiful and it's lovely and it's wonderful that people are wanting to connect in these ways. But I'm of, First Nations ancestry. And even if I weren't, to be completely honest with you, just being a student of these times in Earthling, the way that we go about doing so much of what we do, it's very strange to me. And it always has been, to be completely honest with you. I've shared in other videos, like even being a small child, I learned how to read from the Bible. And sometimes I feel like a one track record, but I don't know if you're new to this, if you've been here, so it's important. These things, matter because they are part of the mosaics that contribute to whom I am. And so, just long story short, when I was a small child, I was very staunch in my belief that I wanted to spread love. And the people close to me, my caregivers, just all of it, were like, "That is so stupid. You're an idiot. You have to do this. You have to do that." We talk about where it's like abuse, support, etc. Talks for other days because humans in our language identifier crayons, we can't help it, but we project our meanings onto these words. So it's such a slippery slope. That has been, the culmination of my 41 years is trying to learn. I don't even want to say like how to speak well or properly or what have you, but it is both enabling and disenfranchising to language police. So it's important to be mindful of the effect we have, but it's also really narcissistic to be like, well, this is what these words mean to me, so you can't say these words. And it's karma because I used to once be very, very big, and I still am. I try to be incredibly mindful of how I articulate and communicate what I am trying to convey. And I can be perceived as such a pill at certain times, just whatever. Trying to be mindful. I don't want to get too sideways because I already have my topic for this video, which is a defensive antisocial personality disorder. Um, these days, I'm not entirely convinced that I wouldn't necessarily fall in the cluster B personality group as modern psychiatry and psychopathy would deduce. Antisocial, potentially manic, psychopathic, sociopathic, etc. I want to talk about how people demonize this or think that this is potentially a negative thing. Like everything else, anything can be a spectrum. Now, please understand, I'm using strong, colorful language. I've been to many therapists, actually, funnily enough, thinking that perhaps I'm like the apex predator level of evolved crazy because of the way so many people seem to perceive me as crazy because of how I deviate and how I'm a bit divergent from so much of how we do what we do. And just having this label thrown at me and lauded at me, like, it's very, very hurtful. And I don't think that we realize that, this is the language that we use to condemn and burn people once upon a time. So again, I try to be very, very selective and very mindful, but at the same time, the ways that I'm perceived because of the language that I used. And it's the catalyst of this video. I just explained I've had a very challenging week. I had to end a few connections. Again, the antisocial personality disorder, like, call me crazy. Oh, before I get to sideways, I've been to lots of therapy because I don't jive the way that everybody else does, if that makes sense. And I seem to draw in and attract a lot of people in my life in the real world. And then, funnily enough, I have issues keeping people. And I want to own that. Like, I don't think that I'm an easy person by any means. I'm an incredibly challenging person to align with because I have standards and because I don't necessarily agree with the ways we apply morality scopes onto things and my standards and what have you, i.e., laws. It is terrifying to me that so many people only do certain things because they're scared of punishment and repercussion, and religion. And it's funny because I love God. Oh my gosh, like Jesus. Ugh, Jesus is my homie. Jesus is honestly the only person that I would take advice from, because of the way that he lived his life. And I don't even mean like if you are like super into the Bible. I mean literally, if you just look at history as like the recorded history of Jesus, this kind of socially deviant punk who was just kind of like, nah, this ain't cool. Nah, this ain't cool. He set such a good example that, yeah, hell yeah, I would follow his advice. He was just a very, very empathetic, compassionate human being, trying to make the most out of his time in this earth. And that's awesome, honestly. And it's really funny because a lot of people, like the way that Christianity, for example, is demonized or bastardized, like there's a lot of ego, and it's hard for me to even find a congregation, that I vibe with. Matthew 23, woe to you, Pharisees. Lots of people will claim to understand the word of God, but then not necessarily exemplify the gospel as I see it. Jesus talked about that. Jesus spoke in parables. He was very interesting. He spoke a lot like Buddha, questioned things. He was not actually big on judgment. He, in fact, was very big on kind of live and let live and just trying to do from the heart and do authentically. Why do you look to me? You can do what I do is great and greater. You shall know them by their fruits. How you do what you do matters, and it's doing it, righteously. But that doesn't necessarily mean not drinking, not smoking. If you're drinking and you're smoking, but you genuinely are then out like trying to go and repair houses and give to the poor and, just obviously trying to de escalate conflict, what's wrong with that? Are you drinking and smoking because you're trying to cope and then going out and pissing and moaning and making things more awful, etc.? So I don't want to digress because, again, it's not even for me to judge or decide, and nor is it for any other of my human brothers and sisters. It's very strange. So my beefs with government, religion, just all of it talks for other days. Because right now it's again defensive antisocial personality disorder. We really want to think that we are so progressive as a peoples, and yet when you look at recorded history, just the outsiders, the deviants, from freaking Socrates to Diogenes the Cynics to the burning of the witches, to Nikolai Tesla being ostracized, Galileo being, I want to say he was burned at the stake. I don't remember at this point because I love learning new things. I think it's really important to understand who we've been because it can help to shape who we are. But it's also very interesting because we oftentimes cleave to history as like the greatness, and we're listening to a bunch of old dead people who just don't know the world as we do. Not that they don't have merit in their views and their thoughts, but that's always been my beef with academia, if that makes sense. Because as someone who has both taken the path of academia and then is just an independent learning nerd, it is only truly when you're like genuinely interested in something that you learn about it. And it's only actually when you learn multiple perspectives and whole narratives, or excuse me, that you explore multiple narratives, that you are able to hold like a base sound structure in any of your opinions or observations. And it's very weird because I don't just take what is given to me, for example. We can talk about authoritarianism, issues with the agency issues, just etc. Again, cluster B personalities, antisocial, socially deviant, all that jazz. Um, we give away so much of our own ability to think. And I guess first and foremost, the humanities, psychology, biology, and philosophy have all deduced that the human experience is individualized, as in we co create, but your anything can't be my anything just by design. Hell, biology 101, literally. If we both take aspirin, we're the same body mass, we follow the same diet, etc., we're still not going to metabolize it the same way. We get so strange just as we continue to know things. The science, it sort of kills our faith and it kills our belief in magic and miracles. So the antisocial personality disorder comes in because I'll connect with people because they're just like, oh my gosh, you're so different, you're so what have you. And then eventually, like, when we disagree or diverge because of the way I see things, people don't necessarily want to try and meet me at my level. It becomes easy to like demonize me or to, I just can't. I don't have this. I don't have work. I don't have the reserves. And we build up these walls. And it's just very strange to me because like more often than not, again, they kind of come to me in the first place because I'm just kind of like blah blah blah. I'm just gonna do my own thing. I'm weird. I like learning. I like what I like. I'm particular. And typically, and I don't mean this meanly, they come because of just whatever. I don't want to be like, oh, you're not fulfilled, blah blah blah. Just for whatever reasons, they come to me. They like the light, the shiny, as Stephen King has identified it. Like humans, we get it. We really do. Why do you think we love kaleidoscopes? The ever expanding light. Why do you think we geek out over movies and media that shines? Because we appreciate the way these people yield the energy, not understanding we can wield the energy the same ways. It talks for other days, I'm telling you. It's enough to drive a person mad. I know I get perceived as sounding crazy, I know, but like, how come I'm living it? How come this is my life? Oh, I don't know. I don't know how to explain it. Here we are. So just I got so sideways because the Lord is probably like, you can't tell everybody everything, just like chill. Um the antisocial personality disorder. It's I had mentioned earlier that it's a rough week. I've had to cut people off. But for the people that are in my life, like I'm so grateful. But to have such an internally rich world, like I'm not extra like we're all human. And again, I know I just talked about how we all do things differently, but we all possess these abilities to think on things, to biohack, like the neuroscience. It's incredible, it's magical. Gosh, do your own research. I say these things and I talk of these things quite loosely because until you make the connection, you're not going to get it. And you're only going to get it when you're supposed to get it anyway. But we are alive, like we're breathing. And I know, I know I am human. I have a human body. I have bills to pay. There are things that happen to me. There are instances, but we absolutely have power over mind and like our choice and our actions and what we make of the circumstances. And it is very interesting to me because a lot of groups, a lot of the people that get along, they just are finding ways to be like, everything sucks. We're so miserable. Let's distract ourselves in different ways. And no judgments. I do the same things in my own ways, but it's about being mindful of that. And then when I realize, maybe perhaps I need to get back on track because what am I doing? What am I not okay with? Why aren't I, doing? And it's not that we have to be like busy bee. You don't have to always be, oh, I must on to the next task. Oh, gotta clean my house. Oh, gotta do this because that's kind of its own kind of neuroses. But working toward our growth, toward our development, just taking a moment to be mindful, to move our body, to feel our strength, to build our strength, to remember that we have this strength. And, we've always got to kind of grow it, if that makes sense. We've always got to kind of build. Cleaning, maybe just taking 5 minutes, just folding a few clothes here and there, and then just building on that gradient. Spirituality, your faith. Let me take a moment to pray and meditate. I'm going to journal for a bit. Hell, when I'm doing these dishes, cleaning, I'm going to focus on my interconnectedness because you know what? Butterfly effect. Science has proven that the way a butterfly flaps its wings affects wind currents, what have you. We are losing touch with our sanctity. I understand we're human. I get it. I don't know. Apparently I'm like addicted to sensuality. And I might just be like an absolute hedonist. Why can't everything feel good? Including the suck, because the mind over matter. Why does it have to suck? Why can't it just be less enjoyable? Again, I'm not dumb because you don't like it, because your emotions, your feelings, because oh my God, you banged your finger and it hurts. Breathe through it. You have a consciousness, you have a mind, you are so smart, you are so strong. It is not easy at first. It does not come naturally. I don't even know how long I've been doing it at this point. I may have been doing it in different ways all of my life because I've always been very strange. But start somewhere. Take back your power. And spoiler, is because I love you and I don't want to necessarily be such a loner. I love people. I live for the moment that I'm able to get engaged, and it's so profound and it's so meaningful. But it is so hurtful when eventually that which is attracted to me is repelled because of perhaps the ways that I'm able to kind of cope and rationalize because I'm weird and I want to engage and they can't. And it's heartbreaking because, again, unconditional love. But if we are not at a space where we can just kind of show up and hold multiple perspectives, goodness gracious, just I make up my own words sometimes, but then now I'm just mooshing words together and just all of it. It's part of, unfortunately, studying communications, amongst other things, is that you begin to understand how the rules apply and how it's all sort of made up anyway. But I digress. I'm not actually antisocial, but in defense, I get it. We're not necessarily always challenging ourselves to show up kinder and show up better. And I'm human. I slip. I do it too. I think that's the hardest part for me. The people that have perhaps denounced me as too much or just what have you, or even when I've pushed people away, it's not necessarily that loners want to be alone. It's that if you're already not showing up and you can't show up, there is sometimes a bit of a burden in understanding, which is I've tried so many different ways to communicate things to people at different times and even like taken what I've observed from different people. And sometimes just also depending on where the person's at and who they are, they're going to see what they see. And that's okay. We can all only experience as we experience. But we might do well to remember that so much of that is a lie. Our brain can't help it. It filters what it filters as it filters because it's supposed to. And it's a big, beautiful brain. Those of you that don't feel smart, you were so smart. You are so smart. If you weren't, you wouldn't be feeling things, thinking things, having these experiences. But perhaps you feel stupid because you weren't remembering that you have biases. You can't help it. So, on that note, I'm loving you this day and always. And we're great. We're awful sometimes too, We're human beings, and we, as human beings, are adverse to pain. We don't necessarily want to go through things that we don't like. And that's human. But congratulations, you're also so much stronger than you think you are because it's in challenging yourself. And I speak from experience, trust me. If I can do it, you can do it. And it's in challenging ourselves, it's in remembering that, and it's in just baby steps sometimes. You've got this, I promise. You have overcome all of your adversity up to this point. And stop putting yourself in these boxes. Stop talking about what you can't do because you can do anything. You really can. Anything. And I'm not going to give whacked out examples. That's my problem, unfortunately. I can find solutions to everything. Like it's just a matter of steps that you have to take, what you're willing to do, etc. And it's kind of an insufferable burden to have because sometimes we just don't want to do, right? Sometimes we just want to. And there's nothing wrong with that. Do that too. But then pick yourself up. Come on, we're here. We're breathing. We are so powerful. And we've got this life in this body. There may be more. Science is still tracking that too, and there might not be, but either way, you've got this life in this body. You are beautiful. You are worthy of love. You are worthy of respect. You are enough. But that doesn't mean that you are not causing people problems by design because we're different people. We can't help but suck because there are different types of people, and that which we find enjoyable, other people don't. And you know what? We have infinite possibilities and limitless potential. So maybe reconsider casting aside anybody that isn't helping you remember that because you are worth it. In defense of antisocial personality disorder, reclusivity, something. But non-interconnected doesn't mean that you can't be loving, what have you. I don't necessarily align with folks easily, or if I do, I'm very quick to cut back if I'm not necessarily feel like I'm being honored and respected. And what's wrong with that? It doesn't make you a bad person. You can still move forward to honor and respect everyone and endeavor to. So just food for thought. Maybe we should just stop pathologizing in general. I don't know. Maybe that's what I'll change the video to. But I love you. And you deserve to be here. And you are changing the world. So remember that and act accordingly.